record on this. Okay, great, so we are now recording. Yeah, so welcome everybody. My name is Roland. I'm the impact lead at Unlimited, which is the UK Foundation for Social Entrepreneurs. We are here today to learn more about Innovate UK's new £4 million SBRI fund for social ventures in the healthy aging space, which we are very excited about. It's the first fund of its kind, I believe, for social ventures. And so it's a fantastic opportunity for people in our community to apply for that money, to research and develop their ventures to support older adults to live better for longer. This is a co-hosted event, so it's by ourselves, which is Unlimited, Aging 2.0, UKRI and Zinc VC. So a shout out to our partners for helping bring this together. We have Eric Kilstrom on the phone from Aging 2.0 and Rachel Middlemas from Zinc, and of course, Helen from UKRI. If anybody would like to speak to them, I'm sure they'd be open to further conversations afterwards about what their organizations do. Just a few house rules. There are quite a lot of people on the call, so please mute yourself when you're not speaking. If you could pop questions, comments, ideas, suggestions in the chat box, that would be helpful. There will be time for discussion in the second half of this session, and I will come to you if I can. But if I can't, we will just take the questions from the chat box, so please use that as best you can. Our agenda for today is, we're gonna quick overview, quick welcome from me, and then at 10 past, we're gonna have Dr. Helen Crampin, who is the Innovation and Technology Lead from UKRI, just telling us, basically giving us an overview of the Healthy Aging Social Ventures competition. And then we're going to have some experience shared by Ben Wilkins, who's the CEO and founder of Good Boost. So a social entrepreneur himself, and he's going to talk a little bit about his experience of SBRI and receiving the funding and what he used it for. At about 1:30, 1:35, we're going to start moving into discussion and comments, and then we're going to hope to wrap up by 2 o'clock. So that's the order of the day. We've got about 50 minutes together from now, and I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts and suggestions today. But I'm going to hand the floor over to Helen, who's going to kick us off with a presentation.
Thanks so much, Roland. Wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. One thing, I am having some connectivity issues, so I might just turn my video off while I'm presenting and then turn my video back on after I've finished, if that's okay with everybody. So I'm going to share screen, and it's going to work seamlessly. Everybody see my screen? Yes. Right, okay, good. So I am going to turn my video off just while I'm going through the presentation, if that's okay. So, as Roland said, I'm Helen Crampin. I'm one of the innovation leads for the Healthy Aging Challenge at UKRI. And obviously I'm here to give you an overview of the upcoming SBRI for Social Ventures, which opens on the 19th of July, which is next week. So a long journey getting here, but really, really excited to be finally here. Firstly, I'd like to stress this is a general information session, and the Innovation Funding Service will be running an applicant briefing session on the 3rd of August, and that's when the Innovation Funding Service will talk about the actual application process, the hows and whys, how you do it and how you access the system, etc., etc. And also I'll have a colleague from the SBRI team who will be able to answer any specific SBRI questions you have, as I am not an SBRI guru. I can answer overview questions, but not very, very deep technical questions about SBRI. So a little bit of background, Healthy Aging Challenge, for those of you who don't know us, we're supporting businesses that are working on solutions for people as they age, and we're also seeking to address social inequalities. We've got 98 million across the whole programme, and it launched in 2019. We've got quite a comprehensive programme. We have a research programme, we've got the Trailblazers that are up and running, and we've also got some other competitions coming up, such as the Designed for Aging competition, which opens in September, and the SBRI competition. We've got 7 core themes, And these are the themes, the scope that we expect the businesses we are supporting to be developing solutions in. And as you can see, they range from living well with cognitive impairment right through to design for age-friendly homes. We cover a broad range of sectors, which is really good for a challenge like this. So as I said, I'm not going to go into great detail about how SBRI works. Suffice to say, it's designed to solve government challenges. It focuses on outcome-driven solutions, and we leave it up to suppliers to develop the best solutions to meet our unmet needs. The big thing about this, obviously, and this is why we're using SBRI as a mechanism, is it allows us to get 100% funding into social ventures. So there is no match funding. And this is really crucial for social ventures because of the barriers they face accessing funding. So just a little bit about SBRI, and I won't, as I said, I'm not going to dwell on this. It's flexible, agile, and it's built around getting the best outcomes. But again, this is just about getting 100% funding to the businesses we want to support. So why social ventures? We've done quite a lot of research over the past year, and we've got a report coming out shortly which has informed this competition. What we know is that social ventures are delivering solutions to those who need it most. And what's really different about social ventures, often the founders have lived experience. In fact, more than not, they have lived experience. And this really gives them unique insights into the market they're serving. So why social ventures? This is a completely, as Roland said, new opportunity. UKRI has not supported social ventures in the past. We're considering this, or we've been told to consider this as a pilot, but I'm really hopeful if we can prove impact that we'll get further funding for this in a couple of years. I'm really hopeful that this programme will take off. So I don't need to tell you what the barriers to funding are for social ventures. And obviously, again, you know this, for-profit businesses have less difficulty getting access to investment. So it's all about getting funding to social ventures. So what we're looking for. We've worked with a lot of organisations across the UK to get this criteria right. So the thing about SBRI is anyone can apply. So we've got strict criteria that describe what a social venture is. You know who you are, basically. If you're a social venture, you are. If you're not eligible. I mean, these are the criteria that we have on the competition website. These are the criteria that are built into the competition brief. So, you can take a look at these and decide whether you are eligible or not. I'm very happy to take specific questions about your projects, and my email will obviously be freely available after the session. You can contact me at any time. What we are looking for as well are the usual things that we look for from Innovate UK projects. We are expecting you to have a lead customer in place. Now, when I say in place, we want you to have got beyond the stage of just having a chat with them. We want you to have some strategies. We want you to have proposals laid out. We want you to have clear routes to market. It's all about being customer-led. And again, this is where social ventures do this really, really well, being design-centered. And also, we're not just focusing on very high-tech solutions here. We are very, very interested in services, and also innovative ways of using maybe old technology or existing services. Obviously, sustainability, scalability, they're things we're very interested in as well. As Roland said, we've got 4 million across the whole programme, and we are doing something slightly unusual for SBRI in that we're running 2 streams at the same time. So normally SBRI has a phase 1, and then successful projects from phase 1 would be eligible to apply for phase 2. But in the interest of time, we're running the 2 streams at the same time. So smaller projects, feasibility, up to 12 months, 25,000 to 50, 51 to 150,000 for the larger projects, up to 24 months. And just to describe what we mean by feasibility. Again, all of this is on our website. This is all about eligibility. You can go and find all these details out for yourself, and I'm sure you know what feasibility means. I don't think I really need to tell you that. And stream 2, the bigger projects, industrial research, experimental development. So it opens next week and closes on the 15th of September, and projects have to start by the 1st of March 2022. And again, it's really important that you attend that applicant briefing session if you're interested in applying for this competition, although we do record the sessions and that recording will be available. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Helen. That was a useful overview of exactly what the fund is offering. I know Ben should be on the line as well, just to help talk through some of his experiences. So, Ben, are you there, and are you ready to share?
Hi, Roland. Yeah, I'm here and ready to go. I'll start sharing now.
Great. Thank you so much, Ben.
There we go. Is that all up and playing, Roland?
Yep, that's good. All good.
Fantastic. Brilliant. So hi, everyone. I'm Ben. I am the co-founder and CEO of Good Boost. My background is in musculoskeletal science and research. We're focused on community and peer delivery of MSK services. And Good Boost is a social enterprise with a mission to improve musculoskeletal health and well-being, which are conditions that affect joints like arthritis and back pain. And we were successful in an SBRI application with a project that started in 2019. Slides moving, there we go, yep. So ahead of the SBRI application, we completed some initial testing on how public swimming pools could transform into community aquatic rehabilitation hubs. And we've been using some initial basic AI software on waterproof tablets. And we went from our initial piloting in 3 swimming pools. We knew we had some success there with people living with back pain, knee replacements, arthritis, recovering from falls fractures. And these are some of the slides from 2018 with our old logo that we used when we applied to the SBRI panel back in 2018. But we had an idea. We completed some initial testing. We knew we wanted to kind of scale that up and test it further. And that's what we applied to SBRI to complete. We talked through our process and work to date, and you can see when we started in 2016, we had a very analog solution, no tech at all. It was just laminated exercise cards that we created as a clinical team. And upon the panel, through the interview process and the application process, we went through our learning, our progress, our understanding of the problem, and our understanding from our users, our customers, our clients, what we believe was a user-led and a co-designed solution to the problem that we were seeing. And in addition to developing further technology, we wanted to test a new scalable service model. And we applied with equal weighting that we wanted some funding to develop technology, but we also wanted to test that service delivery model, which was critical for the technology to be used and rolled out. And it was to test a license model that's similar to Zumba or Les Mills, which is quite common within leisure centres. We applied to the SBRI programme to request that funding to further develop tech, to test the license-based model, and then to trial Good Boost in 10 swimming pools. So the project involved 3 months of developing the technology, the exercise recommendation system we have for aquatic exercise, the front-end app that we were using to improve upon that, and then to take out about 10 tablets for the 10 pools we were working in to get out there, launch it and deliver it, to then track and monitor the outcomes and impact over that project. So this was the question we asked ourselves at the start of the project. Could Good Boost be delivered in public pools to participants where there's been a measurable and meaningful improvement in the clinical outcomes of their musculoskeletal health and overall quality of life? And our aims for that were to build and validate the aquatic software, to develop a training course that would go along with it, to implement that into 10 swimming pools, to build partnerships and relationships that would be really important after the project to grow. The whole process was completely wrapped around with co-designed with people living with musculoskeletal disorders and the pools we were working with. And Over the project, we were able to have just over 200 people engage in what we're doing, but because the way we operate for a tablet computer, we're able to capture some really powerful data to understand over that time period how people's pain changed, their function changed, their quality of life changed. So that quantitative data, but also we're able to complete focus groups to grab that qualitative data to understand what people enjoyed about the sessions, how long people were planning to continue sessions as part of our business case and our modelling going forward. We submitted our results to SBRI and we were then successful in applying for a phase 2 of funding to scale this up. And within phase 2, our vision was, is it possible to transform every leisure centre in the UK into a mini MSK hub? And again, we set new goals, wanted to utilise existing community assets, develop new technology to improve upon what we were doing, create better training to upskill more staff and more volunteers, to understand how we embed into the MSK pathway rather than just being listed as an exercise option in the leisure centre, and how do we better report those outcomes to swimming pools and to health systems and healthcare professionals to really embed what we do. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit 4 months into the project and all leisure centres closed, all swimming pools closed, and the project was essentially put on hold. However, we are now relaunching into swimming pools and it's great to be back out there. The great thing about working with SBRI is they were incredibly supportive, flexible and understanding of the situation and scenario. We continue to receive our payments because even though we couldn't launch what we were doing, we were able to continue developing our technology, continue to do what we were doing. So we're in the position we are now where we are launching really quickly this month and beyond. Here is just a little visual overview of where we are now, what we created, and it's about creating individual tailored exercises that adapt and respond, designed by a specialist that we know improve fitness, pain, function, quality of life at a lower cost than having an on-site physio. And as part of the project, it wasn't just the software, we also applied for phase 2 to develop the hardware because there were no available waterproof tablets that were low cost enough to make it viable for leisure centres that we were working with to have that expense on that digital capital. And that was part of our feedback and learning over phase 1 too. And that's everything. Very happy to answer any questions as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ben. You're getting some comments in the chat about it being fantastic, which absolutely is, and Unlimited have supported Ben for a number of years to help grow that business. And it's interesting hearing you talk just the kind of range of things you managed to achieve with SBRI money. It sounds like SBRI was one of the kind of key facilitators of your growth, I suppose. Would you agree with that?
Without a doubt, it was a huge catapult in us having not only the financial support, but also knowing that because the SBRI and the program was a very specific health program and it opened doors in terms of having conversations with commissioners, with ASHNs, academic science health networks, which is so important to look at how health services and products can be adopted by the NHS and go through procurements and stuff like that. So the funding was fantastic. It was able to grow the team, bring in new skills, but the connection and network as a result of that, and just being able to go into conversations to say that we are going through the SBRI program, it's a real lever to have a conversation because it means you have been to a point vetted, you've had to go through a level of due diligence, and you've had those difficult questions asked to you. So when you speak to organisations, there is a level of credibility to having something like SBRI or Innovate UK as a funder and supporter.
Yeah, great. And it's presumably it helps you clarify your thinking as well about what is important and what direction to go in. It's a badge to the outside world, but it's also actually a helpful process to go through yourself.
Yeah, having the funding to, I think also often the certain enterprises we're having to work so hard just to make ends meet. Like it is like, it feels like we're living day to day, week to week. There's no doubt about that. And having some funding where we actually take a step back and go, like, really, why are we doing this? Are we solving the right problem? What do our customers really want, really need? And it changed the direction. Rather than looking at our future 3 years ago of saying, our view and ambition is to go through NHS procurement because we thought that was the way, that was our future. We've now completely dialed down and realized what we had to do was create a great product and service for the leisure industry, because they go and have contracts with the NHS and public health services. That shouldn't be us, that should be the leisure organisations. So that was a massive learning point that I don't think we would have the time to, that breathing space to reflect upon without that. So then that was the great thing about both SBRI and other Innovate funds are on. It's very much about understanding the problem and learning through that process of where you're going to catapult into a commercial proposition at the end of it, which is fantastic.
Great. And it's like kind of giving you the headspace to think how can we be the most effective form of ourselves? Where's the best opportunity and how can we grow? Just thinking, obviously people here are going to apply or considering applying. What advice would you give for people who are considering making an application?
Without a doubt, read the questions, read the marking criteria where it happens. I've had friends who have asked me to look over their applications for other funding things in the past, and it's so often that I read through it and the question they're answering is the question they think they've read, or they've almost copied and pasted from a different application and think that they answer the questions fully. Like, go back to being a student in the exam hall and kind of double read the question twice before you answer it, because I think so often people put an answer down which doesn't really reflect the question. And when there's a marking criteria, it may be a great answer, but if it doesn't fulfill the requirements of that question, you're losing points. So I think that's one thing to really do. Yeah, I think that's from my own experience of applying, but also reading friends and colleagues who've applied for other programs. That is something that is so often missed.
Great. So read the exam question at least twice before you attempt to answer it. Again, thanks so much, Ben. In terms of the things like reporting on the fund and keeping Innovate and UKRI updated, what was that like for you?
It wasn't hugely different to our existing kind of reporting process to our board. So I update the board every month in terms of progress, achievements against KPIs. I think see them as a similar thing. They're there to just check that you're on target. But also, I think when I went into it, I thought it would be a really scary kind of loads of people wearing suits looking down at me either in person or on a Zoom call, kind of hitting the table going, why haven't you hit things? But actually it's not that at all. Very understanding that projects change. You learn things as you go. Things are responsive and things have to flex and change. As long as you can explain and justify that, then there's no problem at all. I think the important thing is you'll be assigned a key contact or a monitoring officer. It's just keep them updated as you're going through. So rather than waiting for that end of quarter meeting when they go, oh, how are things going? You go, it's changed dramatically. They're there for you can drop the line, say, this has happened. We've reviewed the risk. This is how we're changing it. We understand how it's going to impact. We believe these timescales are going to be impacted by X, Y, or Z. But overall, we're still happy we can complete all deliverables. It's great. That's what they're looking for. It's just a two-way communication. They're there to kind of advise, guide, and support you, not there to be there, not there with a cane kind of hitting the table to shout at you when you go wrong. So yeah, see it as a two-way relationship when you're reporting.
Can I just add something as well? I'm working really, really hard actually internally to be able to manually the monitoring officer process goes out to tender, but I have quite a big role in choosing the most suitable monitoring officers. And one of the issues I have already come across is that there are a lot of monitoring officers and also assessors within our pool that do not understand what social ventures are. So I am working really, really hard to widen our pool of both assessors and monitoring officers so they do understand what social ventures are and they can help us much better. But I totally agree with Ben. They're there to work with you, not against you. I think there's a common perception that we're there to make things difficult, but we're not.
Helen, can I ask as well, before we get into the questions, I know you've said to me in the past that you're particularly interested in service innovations and service providers, and that Innovate has a reputation for being focused on technology for better or for worse. I wonder if you could just explain some of your thinking behind what you are looking for this time that might not fit people's mold in their mind of what Innovate UK funds.
To be honest, I think you've just answered that question. It's all about services, and it's not something that, you know, we traditionally fund. I can name, I'm very lucky to be leading on the investor partnership scheme as well, and that's something, and I could talk a little bit more about that, but that's something that we're really trying to encourage investors to kind of think out of the box, and it's encouraging Innovate UK to think out of the box as well. And I hate to say it, it's a very big organisation, and being creative and being innovative isn't a natural thing, I'm afraid. So yeah, I mean, services, and I'll just tell a very, very quick story about an assessor. I had an assessor from Quantum Technologies for one of my projects that's a social care platform. And you could see that, you know, yes, he had all the qualifications to be a great assessor around quantum technology, but just didn't have a clue about what was going on with this particular project. So it's very interesting. But it's, you know, it's all about these service-led businesses are the ones that are really delivering impact, especially to older people. It's very, very clear to us. There are a lot of fantastic technologies out there to help older people, but a lot of those technologies are not design-centered. They're not person-focused, I'm afraid. They're great technology. They look brilliant on paper, and then when you show it to a 70-year-old, the 70-year-old is completely bemused. Whereas services, it's much clearer what they're there to do and who they're there to help. And it is also, I think, you know, when you're measuring impact, which is something we're very interested in doing, we need to find out more about how to do this and also how our projects do it. But you can see impact from service-led businesses, I think, a lot quicker than you can some of the more high-techy, especially wearable, dare I say it, wearable technologies as well. So, yeah.
And that is one of the reasons why we're so excited about this fund, is because, you know, we feel like it speaks to the pool of social entrepreneurs we work with day in, day out, better than a call just for pure tech would. And I think Ben's a great example of somebody who mixes and blends the benefits of technology and artificial intelligence with a really good service, which is, you know, at least half of the value of Good Boost is tied up in that service. So I think one of the things we're trying to communicate to everyone today is just how much of an opportunity this is for social entrepreneurs, and how rare it is actually that an opportunity like this comes along, and how much Helen is fighting for the voice of social entrepreneurs and service providers, particularly on the inside of Innovate UK. And so, you know, we appreciate that, and we know that that's not always easy to be the innovator inside an organization, not necessarily starting and running one. We're getting a couple of questions in through the chat now, so if you don't mind, I'm going to start opening the floor. There's a couple of questions around eligibility, which I'm sure you're not going to be surprised by, Helen. Questions around community interest companies, private limited companies abroad, so in India, for example, do they qualify? So maybe it would be good if you could just clarify a couple of those points.
Yeah, I think I've been looking at the chat, and I think there's quite a few very specific questions here about specific projects, which I think, you know, I can sit here and answer those individually, but I don't think it's that useful to do it in this space. So what I would say is, please do connect with me using my email. It's freely available, and you can just drop me an email and I'll be able to answer those specific questions. For instance, there's one from Kim here, working with researchers at the University of Bournemouth to assess. No, that wouldn't exclude you from applying at all. In fact, you know, we're looking for businesses that have partners that are collaborating. Obviously, I don't know anything about your project, so again, I don't know the specifics, but that wouldn't exclude you from applying. So that's that question. There's a couple of questions. Yeah, the India one I've responded to, so please do, you know, contact me via email. I need to understand a little bit more about your business and what you're doing and what you're trying to deliver. SBRI is open to everybody, so it is anyone international can apply. It has to have impact within the UK. So again, it depends on what your project is and what you're trying to achieve. So it'd be good to learn a little bit more about that.
That's great to hear. So technically international companies would be, so long as this money is being used to further impact in the UK. And that question around impact as well, measuring impact, we may come back to that later on today, because that's definitely something Unlimited is also engaged in trying to do better. There's some, yeah, go on.
Yeah, sorry, as I said, there's a question from Lorraine Gailey as well. How precise do you need to be in the funding application? Very. So yeah, you need to be very specific about how you intend to spend the grant. There are many costs that are not considered eligible within Innovate UK. And again, you know, we've got a very good website which tells you exactly what is and is not eligible. Sometimes people think something's eligible and it's not, and you have to be very clear about that. If it's not eligible, it will just be taken out of whatever grant you are offered, which can affect your final amount of funding. So you do have to be very specific.
And the time frame on spending the money, Helen, can you just remind us of that?
Yeah, so the projects have to close by March 2024, regardless of the size of project. So the larger projects are up to 24 months. They need to start March 2022, but they all need to close by March 2024, because that's when we run out of money.
And the smaller grants, the phase ones, the first part, did I hear you say something about 6 months for those, or?
They can be up to 12 months, so they can happen 12 months, but yeah, up to 12 months. And again, they just need to finish by March 2024. And I mean, I'll just add this as well. This normally, SBRI, as I said, runs in 2 phases. Now, we are very optimistic, I'll say that, and I should never say that, but I'm going to say it anyway, that we will get some further funding for this programme. So there might be, later in the year or into 2022, opportunities for successful businesses from this round of the SBRI to apply for follow-on funding. So fingers crossed we can get that off the ground. And it all depends on you guys, actually, and who applies and the quality and how successful you are. So let's get going.
So no pressure there.
No pressure.
There's a question about start dates before March 2022, or does it have to start after March 2022?
No, it can start any time from, well, the application process will finish. We close on the 15th of September. We may interview some of the larger projects. It depends how many applications we get and the types of projects and whether we need to dig in some of the detail around the businesses. Quite often, all projects are interviewed, but we're not going to be able to do that. So we have said we may interview you, but so be prepared. You may be called for interview. Those interviews will take place around November. We would expect projects to be kicking off anytime from January, February. It depends how long the project setup takes, depends how many applications we get and how many go through assessment, all of those things. But we'd expect you to be kicking off anytime from January, February 22.
Cool. Had a couple of questions about Unlimited and Innovate working together. So we are, very aligned, I would say, in our thinking. We're not officially partners or anything on this project. Unlimited has, helped to, I suppose, guide Innovate in its thinking around social ventures and social enterprise, but, we're not part of this fund or anything. Unlimited award winners, would be encouraged to apply for this money. And I'm sure that Unlimited support managers could help read through applications as well if you were a current or previous award winner of Unlimited's. But we're not technically doing this together. Just to clear that up.
I mean, I think one of the things we're really trying to work towards is these kinds of partnerships, because Unlimited, obviously, Zinc as well, they understand these businesses, they understand what small businesses need to be successful, and we need to work with those organisations. So yeah, just to sort of reiterate what Roland said about Unlimited's input, it can't be underestimated. They've been extremely helpful at getting this off the ground, and I'm really thankful actually for all the support I've had from Unlimited.
And of course, that's all been based on decades of experience working with innovators who are on the call and people like them today. So it's very much come from the ground up. Quick question about state aid. What's the interaction here with state aid?
It's procurement, so it's classed as pre-commercial procurement, so there is no state aid. Actually, it's called subsidy control now. We're not allowed to say state aid. So that is not an issue.
Okay. So that clarifies Kelvin's question. Hi, Kelvin, as well. Nice to have you here as well. Question here about partnerships and collaborations between organisations. How does that work? Yeah,
SBRI do take applications from collaborations, but there has to be obviously a lead. That the applicant has to be a single entity, but they can collaborate and have partnerships. That's absolutely fine.
Great. And also, I just want to be clear that even though there are these two streams, as it were, 1 and 2, smaller and the bigger ones, you'll only get one shot. You'll only get one of them. You won't be able to do 1, then 2, because this is just such a short window.
Yeah, that's right. I had a question yesterday about if you could apply for both. So if you had 2 different projects, so if you had a feasibility project, you could apply for a smaller amount, and if you had a larger industrial research project within the same business, could you apply for both? Actually, yes, you can. So, but it would be unusual, I think, for somebody to do that, because it would be extremely, draining on resources. I would think it'd be quite hard for a business to pull that off.
And the potential for follow-on funding that you mentioned, when would you know about that?
I would say probably September.
Oh, so quite soon.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say by the end of September, when we've seen how many applicants we've got, the types of businesses, the quality, we'll have seen how many businesses are eligible, etc. We'll be able to, answer that question then. I'm hopeful, and we'll know how much, how much money we might have as well to allocate to this.
Great. A couple more. There's one about an IP exchange in return for grants.
No,
we'd think not.
No, you own your IP. That's entirely your thing.
And then a question around funding being used to seek match funding.
I guess you could go to an external investor and say, I've got this from Innovate UK, and an investor could be interested in you on that basis, if that's what you mean. One of the things we're really trying to encourage is, and this has happened, so I don't really, I'm sure you've all heard of Beyond Hand, but they've had some Innovate UK funding, and they then have been taken on by one of my investors through the Investor Partnerships Programme. So again, this type of funding gets you to a point where a private investor, a commercial investor, will look at you more favourably. So, this is exactly what we're trying to encourage investors to do. And we're trying to encourage them to be a little bit more risky in where their investments are. And we're really, really lucky with the investors we've got. We've got Nesta, we've got North Star, Barclays, L&G, and we've got 24 Haymarket. And they're all very interested in small startups, scale-ups, and also social ventures. So that's another story.
So those investors that Innovate has, the idea is sort of these are seed money to get them to a stage where they might be eligible for commercial investment later.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great, that's brilliant. Question around, I think, Catherine, the answer is yes. It means it may be more than that.
The initial fund for this call will be 4 million. We may get further funding for another SBRI call, so it would be a separate competition.
Okay, and would those be the same size amounts as in all?
Don't know.
Okay.
I would suspect we will be looking at larger amounts. I would suspect it'll be 150 to 200, maybe a little bit higher than that, depending. But again, those are details I can't really comment on.
Great. Okay. And an interesting one here around age restrictions being targeted. Any particular cutoff point for what constitutes healthy aging or older adults?
Absolutely not, though. I think it's more the younger age group. So our challenge tends to focus on 50 plus. So we're not just focusing on the very elderly. Growing old starts younger than 50, but we're interested in keeping people at work for longer, for instance, so people before retiring age. So I'd say the younger, the younger sort of age bracket. But yeah, there's no limit on age.
Great. So it's sort of prevention, preparation, living well, staying healthy for longer, as opposed to the more curative end of the spectrum.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. Great. Okay. I wonder, Eric, if there's anything you wanted to add, or any other thoughts that are coming from you that you might think of sharing.
Well, there was a comment earlier about, Ben made a comment about answer all the questions, and I wanted to reiterate that. I mean, I think there's some guidance in it's simple to say. It's actually a bit more, you need to be quite thorough in answering it, because they have very specific questions to answer, but not everyone answers them. And even if you read them, you think you've answered them, you might want to make sure it really stands out. There's just simple sort of application protocol that is just important to follow. It sounds simple, but please make it extremely clear to somebody who's reading lots of these. I promise it'll help your application.
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. I agree with that.
That's probably the best.
Yeah, and just take your time. Just don't rush it. Take your time. You've got until the 15th of September. You can press the button submit on the 15th of September. But, you don't have to do it before. So yeah.
And my experience of being in the grant making bodies, everybody does leave it till the 15th of September. So I don't think that will be too much of a problem. So Helen, is there any further advice that you would give on applications, or rather, is there anywhere people can go for guidance and or support with application making?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for people who are interested, please come to the applicant briefing session in August, because that will answer, those really specific questions about application process. Please use my email. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And I mean, there's a point in the chat there from Catherine about bid writers, and there are people out there who can help you write bids. And I know that a lot of them aren't cheap, but there are some very good ones. I know a very, very good one. So if it's something you're interested in, let me know, and I can put you in contact with somebody who can help you with that. Other than that, just email me, and for specific answers to specific questions, I can point you to the right person. But yeah, that's fine. And we have other things happening within the challenge as well, so please visit the webpage and have a look. We've got a Design for Aging competition which launches in September, which is really interesting, so go and have a look at that as well.
Helen, would you mind popping a link in the chat, or at least telling us where we can find a link to the August event, the briefing? It's
on the competition webpage. So I will find the link to the competition webpage, put it in, and if you just go there, there's a link to the webinar on there. So
great. And yes, there's also a question around if you've previously applied for a SMART grant. Yes. Can the same business apply for this fund? The answer is yes, is it? Yes. Okay, you're on mute. You're on mute, by the way.
Yes, I'm nodding. I'm doing okay.
Great. Okay, so I'll just give you a sec to find that link just for the 15th, the 3rd, of August. We Unlimited have helped. We have in the past run some bid writing workshops with PA Consulting. It may be, I don't know if we have any planned for that again, but it may be that we might be able to arrange one, and I will look into that to see if we can put something on specifically for this fund, given it's so important. Helen is just popping some stuff in the chat around the web page and the link, so hopefully everybody will have that. So we're kind of coming to the end. If there are any more questions, I'll leave it for a couple more minutes just to pop them in. No worry, Nikki, by the way, we've recorded the session, so we'll make sure to share it with everyone who registered afterwards, so you can have access to it. Understand that, you know, you might not have had best internet for the last hour or so. And Ben, looks like Pasna's trying to get in contact with you, so I'll leave you to, yep, thumbs up, I'll leave you to follow up with that. Any final thoughts? It's worth saying, of course, Unlimited, we'll get Helen's email, don't worry, Julia, we'll get it out. Worth saying, Unlimited, obviously, we're not technically a match funder of any kind, but, you know, were somebody to be successful in SBRI money, it might be that you'd want to talk to us about receiving some grant funding and support from us to help you deliver that, or whatever you've agreed with Innovate and SBRI. So just to bear that in mind, our door is always open. We have a dedicated healthy aging team. You know, we run, by the way, a monthly peer support call, which anybody is welcome to come to. You don't have to be an Unlimited grantee to come, and they're on the last Thursday of every month. And I will just drop or Tim, perhaps, if you're on the line, you could just drop. Yeah, he's popped it in, brilliant. Thank you. So yeah, we run those. They're an hour long for all innovators and entrepreneurs working in healthy aging, and they're just a great way to connect with others. We always do an action learning set to help somebody kind of think through a challenge, but please feel free to come to those. And if people are having challenges with things like SBRI, they're more than welcome to email us. We're at healthyaging@unlimited.org.uk, which maybe Tim, you could pop in the chat as well. And Lorraine, it's very kind for you to say that you found those sessions helpful, because yeah, we've loved having you, and I think they have been very successful. So yeah, we would welcome anybody else who'd like to join. Unless anybody has any speakers or any participants have anything else to add, I will draw us to a close and just say thank you very much to Helen in particular for answering those questions, to Ben for giving us like really deep insight into what SBRI can do for a social enterprise, and both Eric and Rachel, Aging 2.0 and Zinc respectively, for helping us put this session together. So thank you all very much, everybody. And
thank you very much, Roland, as well. Thank you.
Not a problem. I love doing this stuff, and we're getting quite good at it. We do it so often now. So yeah, if anybody would like to get in contact with any of the speakers, we can make that happen. Otherwise, you've got 10 minutes back, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. So see you later.
Bye all. Thank you.
Bye everybody. Thank you.